Hi, my name is Stephen Walther, and in this video I'm going to show you how to show a set of database records. What we're going to do is we're going to grab a set of database records from the database and show the records in an HTML table. Now I'm actually going to show you two ways of doing this. I'm going to start by showing you kind of the very simplest way. What we're going to do is we're just going to grab all the records and we're going to do all the formatting of the records in the view. Then I'm going to show you a more structured approach to displaying database data. The second approach, what we're going to do is we're going to create a user control and use that as a template for displaying each of the records. So we're going to do our formatting within a user control. So let's start with our database data. Switching over to Visual Studio 2008, I already have an open ASP.NET MVC application. This is written using VB.NET. Right now there's not a lot to it. I have a MoviesDB database, and that's about it. So first thing I want to do is I want some way of grabbing these records out. These are movie records, and in this database I have a table called Movies, and the Movies table, just to show you what's in there, show table data, just to show you the list of movies, we just have a bunch of movie records. So we have an ID, title, director, and date released. Nothing exciting there. What we want to do is we want to show that set of database records now within an ASP.NET MVC view. So first step for us is I'm going to go ahead and create a link to SQL class in my models folder. So let me right click, go to add, new item. I'm going to go ahead and add a link to SQL class. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and call it movie, and this will create a movie data context for me. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to drag out my movies database table onto the object relational designer that I get when I add the link to SQL classes. Click save. I want to change the name of this. It calls it movie with a Y by default. Let me fix that up. I'm going to change it to movie. Save it again. And there we go. So now I have my data context. This generates a link to SQL data context, so I have a way to interact with my movies. That took less than a minute to do. Next step for me is I want to go to my controller. I'm going to do this in my home controller, and I'm going to set up the index action in my home controller so that just return all the movies. So first thing I want to do is I want to dim a data context as new movie data context. So that creates my movie data context, and then I want to get my set of database records back. So I'm going to say dim movies equals, and I'll use link to SQL query syntax. So I want to say from m in data context dot movies select, and I just want to select the entire movie record. So I'll just say select m. This gives me a set of movies, and then I can just send this set of movies over to the view by passing it in when I call the view method. So I should be done in terms of my controller. Let me make sure that this builds. It's a good idea to make sure everything builds and everything's fine. So now I'm up to the point now where I'm ready to start displaying the records. So how am I going to do that? Well, I need to modify this index view. So let me expand the views folder and go to the home folder, and I'm going to modify the default index view that I get when I create a new MVC project. First thing I'm going to do is just get rid of all the content. And the other thing that I know I'm going to need to do is I know I'm going to have to do an import because I want to use the link to SQL movie class that I just created, that the object relational designer just generated for me. So I'm going to say import namespace equals, I want to use the name of my project, that's MVC application 1. Because that's the namespace for the movie class, and now that's available, and now I can start showing my movies. Now, the first approach I'm going to take to showing the movies is I'm just going to do everything in line. I'm just going to do it all within the view. So what I want to do is I want to start by creating an opening HTML table tag. There's my opening and closing table tag. I want to add in a TR tag. This is going to be my header row. And I want to go ahead and put in some THs. So I want to show the ID of each movie. I want to show the title of each movie. and let's just show, you know, the entry date or the release date. There we go. All right, so that's my header row. And now I'm ready to show, you know, each of the movie records. So this is a place where I need to create a for each loop. So I'm going to say for each M as movie in viewData.model. And let me put the next in for my for next loop. There we go. So I'll loop through all the movie records. And for each movie record, what I want to do is I want to create a new table row. And then I want to be able to show the ID for each movie record. So M dot, this is nice. Notice that we're getting IntelliSense right here in the view. M.ID. And now we want to show the title. And finally, we want to show the release date. Date released. There we go. So that'll create a new HTML table row for each record, and then we're showing the value of each of the, you know, the properties for each record. So I think this will work. Let me go ahead and save this, and I'm going to hit the run button. It's asking me whether I want to run the application in debug mode. Okay, yes I do. And we get our list of movie records. Now, this isn't formatted very nicely. We didn't do any formatting, so that's why I want to show you how. I want to show you how to do formatting next. Let me switch back to the view, and then we'll go ahead and format it. Switching back to Visual Studio, what I'm going to do is I'm going to format this table in a standards compliant manner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of CSS to do it. Now, I could, if this was a normal view page, I could just put the CSS right here, but this is actually using a master page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the master page, which you can find in the shared folder, and it's called site.master. And what I'm going to do is, in the head section, I'm just going to add a new style sheet right here. And I'm going to go ahead and style the table. So first thing I want to do is I want to collapse all the borders on my table. And notice we do get IntelliSense for the CSS style rules. That's very nice. And the other thing I want to do is I want to create borders. I want to create grid lines. So I'm going to say table TD and table TH. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and say border solid 1 pix black. And let's add some padding in here as well. So 10 pixels. That'll look great. So now we've added some formatting that will apply to every table. Now, of course, we could put a CSS class on the one table that we're formatting, and then just create style rules for that one class. But I'm just going to do it for every table. Okay, great. So let me go ahead and run the application again, and we'll see what we have. And now this looks, it's not, maybe the formatting isn't the best in the world, but it's looking much nicer now. It's better than the default formatting we got, just showing a table. All right, so there's a couple of other things that we might want to do here. First, the date doesn't actually look all that nice. This is showing the default date in the full date, full time. So how could we modify that? Well, let's switch back to our view. Let me shut this down. And let me switch back to our index view. What we can do here is, we're in our inline script, we can use any VB.NET that we want. So one thing we can do is we can take advantage of the toString method. And the toString method on the date class allows us to use these things called format specifiers to format the string. So if we want to show just a long date and no time, we can put in uppercase D. If we just want to show a short time, just a short date, we can put in lowercase d. Just a long time, uppercase T. Just a short time, lowercase t. I'm guessing we probably just want to show a long date. So we're going to put in uppercase D, and that will format now, this time using an uppercase D. Now, the other thing that I'm going to show you since we're here is, it's typically a good idea, well, it's a necessary thing for security, if you're accepting user input, you should always HTML encode everything that you're outputting to the browser. That prevents JavaScript injection attacks. So this title here is, if we allowed users who came to our website to enter a title, we definitely want to HTML encode that. So let me show you how to do that, because it's really easy, and it's a good thing to do just for security reasons. There we go. Okay, so let me run this again, and we'll see what we have. Oh, isn't that nice? So now we just have the dates showing out as long dates. The title doesn't look any different, but the change that we made would prevent JavaScript injection attacks, because it'll go ahead and encode any special characters like the greater than or less than character. Okay, so I've shown you one approach now to displaying database data. Now I want to move on to the second approach. The second approach is, instead of putting everything in line within the view, what you can do is create a separate user control and use the user control to contain the template. So let me show you that approach. So switching back to Visual Studio, the first thing I want to do here is I want to create a user control. I'm going to use the user control as the template. So I'm going to go to my home folder, and I'm going to right click and add a new item. And the new item I'm going to add is an MVC View User Control. Now I'm going to go ahead and just call this movie template, because I'm going to use it to, as a template for each movie I display. Click Add, and there's my movie template. Now inside the movie template, I'm going to get some view data, and the view data is going to represent one movie database record. So I can take advantage of that inside my template. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the TR, and I'm going to put the TD. Actually, there's no reason to type this all out again, because I still have it in my index page, so let me go ahead and grab it from there. I'm going to go ahead and just copy, cut, and paste this template from here and put it right here. Now, the one thing I'm going to have to change is the M here. What I want to do is say view data and say .model. Oops. Let me just copy that to the next lines. And do it right here. And there we go. Okay, so now I have my template, and now switching back to the original view, all I'm going to do inside of here now is I'm going to say render user control, give the path to the user control. So that's going to be views, home, and we call this thing movie template. And then it wants to know the data, so that's just going to be M. And there we go. Now, there's one last minor change that we have to make before we can run it. The last minor change is, right now the view data is going to come to the user control, and it's going to be just an object. So viewData.model is going to represent an object rather than a movie class, and that can cause some problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and strongly type our user control so it expects to get a movie. To do that, I'm going to click on this little icon right here. That's for showing all files, and that way I can get to the code behind file for our user control. Double click there, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strongly type this to expect a movie. And so now the view data, when it gets to the movie user control, to our movie template, it's going to be actually cast as a movie. So this should all work now. Let's go ahead and run it to make sure it does work. And there we go. So we have, it looks exactly the same as before, but now we're using a user control to format everything. Okay, so in this video I've shown you two ways to display database data. First, we did all the formatting in the view, and second, I showed you how to use a user control as a template so you don't have to do everything in one place. Again, just to emphasize the advantage of the second method, let me go ahead and shut down the browser. And let me, just to show you the advantage of the second method, let me switch back to the index page. So, in our case, we had a pretty simple, we had a pretty simple template. All we needed to do was show a row of records. The nice thing is that you can use the second technique even when your views get very, very complex, as a way to separate out, your formatting logic.